knocked at the door.
Check. Mic check. 1, 2. Hey. Check. Check.
Testing 1 2 3 4 5. 1
Pop,
2 3 4 5.
Popsicles.
Pop.
Ice.
Iced tea.
Icicles.
Iced tea.
Test.
Batman.
Test. Testing. 1, 2.
Would you like iced tea, Batman? True facts about the Batman.
1. The Batman never kills anybody.
That is how he do.
That is how the Batman do. Well, how was everyone's day?
Pretty peachy. It was kind of one of those days at work where I got done with everything I needed to do well before it was time to go home. So it was a lot of like trying to pretend to be busy. Well, not pretend, but like find ways to be busy unsuccessfully. But yeah, that was more or less my day.
Yeah. You go ahead. You go first.
Yeah, no, okay. No, you.
No, you.
They're all reverse cards.
I have an Uno reverse card. You must tell me about your day.
Fine, I'll go. My day was pretty cool. Today was demo day at work, so that means we
What'd you tear down?
demonstrate day.
Oh, not demolition. Got it.
Yes, we demonstrate the
The
things
other
we
word.
have made. I'm a software engineer, so I make a computer program for a living.
It does the most interesting thing out of any of us.
Not really, but sort of. Anyway, so every other Thursday we show off what we made to the people who actually interact with customers. So that's kind of fun. We get to say, "Hee, I made that, and it's cool and nice." And
It's like, oh, I'm paying you to make this. Good. I'm glad you made it.
but yeah, it was fun. And then the rest of the day, I just made new stuff that is not going to be going out for a while. But yeah, it was a good day.
Good day. Good
Good
day.
day.
Good day.
Good day.
Yeah,
I walked to Holiday over lunch.
Mhm.
There's a gas station down the road from where I work, and I go over there and get snags sometime.
A little bit of coffee.
No,
Nice
they have free coffee.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty
at
spiffy.
work.
It's pretty nice.
yes, it's very very nice.
Nice.
Not having to pay for coffee is a true blessing indeed.
We have a
Indeed.
But the sidewalk wasn't cleared all the way out there, so there was just like a heap right at the end of the apartment complex's property, and then like the property that no one owns, the sidewalk was just completely covered in 5 feet of snow. So you had to trek up the mountain of snow to get over it onto the road, walk on the road the remaining like 100 feet to the gas station. And it was not a fun time.
Maybe that's like the way our grandparents had to walk uphill both ways because the same snow pile is in the way. They had to go.
We've solved the mystery, boys.
We've done it.
It's only true in North Dakota, but yeah, or Minnesota for that matter.
I had a linear algebra test today, as I am the only one in shul still.
Continue.
Yes.
He's Catholic, by the way. We all are. Continue.
Anyway, so there's that, and then after class, I did the tutoring, and tutoring is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because people come in with their stuff from intermediate algebra or from Calc 2 or whatever, and I just kind of enjoy problem solving and figuring out what they did wrong.
So like, teacher, I cannot math, and you'd be like, let us math.
Let us.
Come to the math lab. We'll cook something up for you.
Exactly.
Just one more batch. One more math.
just one more equation. Come on, another line of code, please. Alrighty. Well, this week's episode,
Who are we?
we're the
I've
Palladian
just had
Papists.
an existential crisis, and I
Yeah.
don't remember
I don't know
anything
who I
about
am
who I am.
anymore.
Fortunately, the topic of today. We are the Palladium Papists, by the way. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
Our movie actually involves a sort of, the movie we're talking about today actually involves a sort of existential crisis of the main character. So I guess that's
Wow, that's a fancy schnapsy transition.
pretty.
Yeah, wow, what a segue.
And
We're learning
what a
on-
way to ruin the segue
By calling it
acknowledging
out.
the segue.
Fine.
It's okay. Everybody does it.
Everyone does. It's like, oh, look at the cool thing I did. By that, it is no longer cool.
It's self-aware
Mom,
in
did you
a very
see that?
self-aware fashion. Acknowledging your transitions and how they suck is a great way to be ironic about having transitions at all. I
And
think
then
it's
talking about how, you know,
And now we're just we're just going meta on
layers upon layers of dissecting our segue.
Look, Mom, no tactfulness. She would heartily agree with that statement. Yeah. Anyhow, so we're the movie we're talking about today is one of our favorites, Fantastic Mr. Fox, directed by Wes Anderson. I believe it came out in 2009. It's like a sort of, if you've ever watched the old puppet animated claymation style stop motion films like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, it's a lot like that, where you have like these latex puppets, stop motion animated, and it's based off of the book by Roald Dahl, which I should read to see, because being as it's the source material for the movie. I'm not sure how faithful it is to it.
Regardless, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie, directed by Wes Anderson, and it tells the story of Foxy, played by George Clooney and his family.
voiced by George Clooney. Let's be clear.
Yeah, voiced by although the fox and George Clooney's.
This is not the musical Cats.
no. Good lord. Oh,
I don't
stop
wanna
motion combination with motion.
Oh no!
Stop motion
capture.
people.
Stop motion capture.
Oh man, that would be something else. It'd be like SFM facial animations, but on people.
Imagine a whole movie, like an entire movie where one character is like stop motion animated and it's like a human. So like there's one guy who's shot at a different frame rate, or they just literally stop motion this guy's movements where he just moves a little bit and they take a picture and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just impose him on the rest of the film, and there's just one guy who stands out as being stop motion.
Anyhow,
That was off track.
Yeah.
A mistake.
like we do.
Well, not a mistake.
So it's about Foxy, voiced by George Clooney, who lives in his foxhole with his
fox wife and his fox children, and he goes to fox work and works for the Fox newspaper.
Yep.
It's not called the Fox newspaper.
No,
but
No.
He
it's
doesn't
sort
work
of
for
like
Fox
the-
News.
It's the newspaper for like the whole animal kingdom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Although the movie opens where it's him and his wife, who is voiced by Meryl Streep, and they go on a sort of date night together, stealing birds from the local farm to some upbeat Beach Boys music, and it's pretty aesthetic. Like the whole thing has like the 70s aesthetic to it, which I'm pretty sure is like a Wes Anderson like standard almost. But at any rate, and so the thing goes wrong when he tries to show his wife how the trap is spring loaded and it will go off, and like a fox trap they find is spring loaded, and it turns out it's not, and they get stuck underneath it.
Generally trying to showboat and say, "Hey, look how cool I am!" Trying to figure out the trap, and he's like, "Oh wait, I fell right into it."
Yeah, which turns out to be sort of a metaphor for the entire, like, the rest of the movie. So nice little setup there. And so in the fox trap, what's his wife's name again?
I can never remember. This is
I don't
probably
know,
something we
Mrs.
should know.
Fox.
Mrs. Fox. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look this up at some point, because like for the amount of times I've seen the movie, this is kind of sad.
They don't say her name very.
He doesn't
often.
call her by
They yell at-
Felicity.
There you go.
Felicity
There you
Fox.
go.
That's right.
That's
That's
exactly what it is.
Foxy and Felicity. Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty sure
right.
his first name isn't Foxy.
It is
It's-
Foxy.
Is it?
Yeah.
He's
Foxy
just Mr.
Fox?
Fox.
Mm-hmm. It's a little less original. But at any rate, his wife tells him that she's pregnant with a cub. And so the farmers also come out to, like, take care of him because they caught him in their fox trap, and she makes him swear off stealing birds, which he does for a living, so he can live like a safer, more family-friendly lifestyle. So in like a blink of an eye, his entire livelihood changes, and he has to make adjustments in his life, to being a new dad. and also having to switch careers.
So it goes from being this footloose, fancy-free, sly fox, stealing birds and stuff, to being a responsible breadwinner for his family.
Mm-hmm. They live in a little hole under the ground. Cut to, I think it's like, what is it, 2 years later, which is 6.5 Fox years as they
They constantly translate throughout the film real human time into Fox time. It's kind of
a nice.
fantastic.
There's a lot of like little touches like that really help like
little
sell the movie.
bits of like dry humor just sprinkled in throughout. Like every phase of the film, there'll be like a chapter title, and
like it's a book.
yeah.
And then the movie, like before we get too sidetracked, the movie opens with like a little poem describing like the villains of the movie, who we'll get to, which is kind of funny. Like you'd see if you were opening like the initial like cover pages of a book or something. It's kind of neat. At any rate, so cut to a couple years later, they're just kind of living their domestic life. Ash is older now. Their
Ash
son,
is the cub.
yeah,
Yes.
the son. The son.
Whoa,
the cub. I was trying to
the
say
son.
yes.
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 Okay.
Be very careful about
Pause a second for editing that out. So cut to a few years later. They're living their domestic life now. There's Foxy, Felicity, and their son Ash, who is the cub. Just kind of living a normal life. Ash is like a Fox teenager in Fox years, having some daddy issues and just kind of attitude stuff in general.
He's just kind of waves hands.
Yeah.
Different.
Yep. Dresses up as a superhero to try to, as a sort of like a symbol of like he's trying to prove himself or something. And so Foxy is just kind of showing signs of like, okay, I'm not liking living this life. You know, my dad died when he was, I think, 7 non-Fox years old. My father died when he was at 7.5. I don't want to live in a hole anymore. And so he goes real estate shopping. The real estate agent is a weasel, and he buys a tree above ground in this kind of nice little home. So they move in there and they have like their nice little life. And then his buddy Kylie the opossum comes over, and together he sort of realizes in like a midlife crisis, existential crisis, you know, can I ever really be happy without chicken in my teeth, you know, stealing birds like I was born to do. And so him and Kylie hatch a master plan with 3 phases. He's going to rob each of the 3 nefarious farmer neighbors he has, these British dudes. And so he goes one after the other. He steals each of their signature farm products that they have. Like there's Bogus, who's a chicken farmer. Bunce is like a short little dude.
He's got goose and squab and stuff.
Yep. And he makes donuts with mashed up goose livers injected.
There's all these like little details about the characters that just like
it's like very quaint and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like kind of charming. The movie's got like a really
but also a weird sense of humor.
Yeah, like a weird British sense of humor to it.
Great.
And so at any rate, he steals from all 3 of the farmers their major.
We didn't talk about.
We didn't talk about
Oh,
Bean.
Bean,
He's
yeah.
kind of the biggest guy.
Yeah, he's the biggest, baddest, leanest, maddest lad in the whole
among
movie.
the farmers.
Among the farmer.
and he makes apple
farmers.
cider, like the best alcoholic apple cider
that money
known
can
to
buy.
man.
Yeah.
Known to Fox.
Like
Known to
liquid
Fox.
gold, as they say. And so after stealing from him, the farmers all hatch a plan together to like camp outside of his house and take him out. And meanwhile, I guess one of the subplots of the movies, Felicity's nephew, his dad has double pneumonia, so he comes over and stays at their house. And so him and Ash are kind of in a competition for Foxy's approval and attention.
Even though Christopherson doesn't particularly want it.
Yeah. And so like Foxy will do things like invite Christopherson on like these little heists with him and stuff. But ultimately the farmers camp outside his house and try to put a cap in him. And they only end up shooting off his tail, which is sort of the symbol of his dignity. And so he goes retreats back into the house, and then the farmers come back with a vengeance with excavators to knock over the tree and dig them out. And so they escape by digging ridiculously long tunnels in the ground, and hide underground. And so Foxy's basically, we'll get into the major themes later. So eventually they meet up with other animals who are also digging for their lives and find out that the farmers in their quest for revenge have destroyed the whole forest. And now everyone's really mad at Foxy for ruining all their lives because he wanted to steal a few birds. But in a moment of inspiration, I guess, Foxy is like, oh, I can just fix this problem by doing this thing I do best. So they naturally they dig their tunnels and steal everything the farmers have, and then have like a nice feast to celebrate. But they didn't steal all the cider. So the farmers flush them out in a giant cider apple juice flood.
As Kylie would put it.
Yeah, as Kylie would put it. I love Kylie.
In the commotion, that's when Christopherson gets taken by the farmers, right?
Mm-hmm, yep. Because him and Ash were trying to like
steal back the tail,
which Bunce was wearing Bean was wearing as a necktie. Sort of a ridiculous thing there, but so they're trying to steal the tail back so he can win back his father's approval or whatever. And then Christopherson gets captured. In the process, and Ash escapes. So there they are down in the sewer with no food, no water, struggling to survive. And Foxy's like, all right, well, I've messed this up for everybody. I'm just going to go surrender myself, and maybe they'll let everybody else live. But Bean sends his henchman after...
by henchman, he means security rat.
His security rat, played by Willem Dafoe, which I didn't find out until years later. I'm like, well, of course, he's played by Willem Dafoe. It's perfect. Sort of dastardly character. And so the rat comes to collect Foxy, even though Foxy's already gone to give himself up. And he realizes that they don't actually have his son hostage as his nephew. So he tries to take out the rest of Foxy's family, and so Foxy has to come back and fight for his family and defeat the rat. Let's see where they go from there. And so Foxy realizes that they need to hatch a rescue plan for Christopherson. So they go through this whole shebang, this big sequence where they fight the farmers, and then they go rescue Christopherson, and there's this big like Wild West showdown with the rabid beagle and all that fun stuff, and Foxy returns home victorious. And so after that, all is well and good, but they're still like starving in the sewer. So Foxy finds a supermarket, and so they break into it from underground and steal everything. As the
supermarket is sort of owned by the farmers as an aggregate.
Yeah.
This is his final triumph over them. Their farms had become untenable, so they jointly opened a grocery store.
And they just kind of camp outside the sewer hole waiting for the fox to pop out so they can kill him. And they're just obsessed with him after that. And that's basically how the movie ends. That was kind of like a rambling, wandering way of
summarizing the plot.
Yeah.
Long story, still long.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the sort of just the synopsis of the movie. So I guess from there, we can talk about some of the major motifs, which we kind of hinted at, but I wanted to kind of talk about on their own. The main story arc theme is Foxy dealing with, he's trying to decide how to live his life, whether he should remain true to how he feels, or who he is on the inside, and his responsibilities on the outside. It's like the main conflict, I guess, within him, and how that manifests in the movie. So on one hand, you have him stealing birds and stuff, and the other, you have him just kind of living a humdrum life as a newspaper column writing dad, who's pretty sure nobody actually reads his column. And so he gets bored of that life, tries to go back to the old one, and ends up destroying everything he worked to build. So he has to find a balance between the two to continue supporting his family. And that's kind of how the movie ends, in him stealing from he like lives true to his wild animal nature and ends up reconciling, being able to support his family, take care of his responsibilities, and remain true to himself. Second one is kind of let's see, what's another? Oh, there's also kind of like the side story with like Christopherson trying to prove himself to his dad, I guess.
Christopherson didn't
Ash.
have anything
No.
to prove.
Ash proving himself
Ash,
to his
sorry.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's this whole arc symbolized by a bandit hat.
Yeah.
Because like when Ash and Christopherson are going to steal back his dad's tail, that they later find out is the Bean's necktie.
Mm-hmm.
He like fashions a bandit hat out of a tube sock. It's like this is how I'm gonna win my father's approval back by being like him in a way, right?
And he wants to be an athlete like Christopherson, but he's not very good at anything.
He wants to be an athlete like his dad was.
The big town sport of whack-bat, which is like an amalgamation of cricket, baseball, and every which other thing they could throw in there.
Yes, and
After the
it
pine
involving hitting flaming pine cones.
After the pine cones burns out and the runner is dashed back and forth, everyone tallies up the score and divides it by 9.
It's kind of
It's a great commentary on how complicated sports are.
yeah. But at any rate, so there's that.
At any rate, but like at the end, the Ash does a feat that impresses his dad, and he
Saves their lives.
their
basically.
lives and wins his approval, and he finally gets to have a proper bandit hat.
With stars on it. The other
Yes.
ones don't. He gets like the special one.
So there was that subplot, but I think it's ultimately less important to the whole story and idea behind it.
Yeah.
I still think it's a very, very important and central storytelling component, because the symbol of the bandit hat is pretty much a symbol of being included in his dad's mission.
Uh-huh.
You know, Foxy's mission is to be able to steal all of the things from all the farmers. And when he goes out, he and Kylie at first are the only ones going, and they both have bandit hats. And then eventually when Christopherson joins in on the fun, he also gets a bandit hat. But Ash doesn't have one, so he's not.
Why didn't I get a bandit hat?
He's not in. So
And-
he is
and-
like, he feels excluded from that because this bandit hat is the symbol of his father's allowing him to participate.
And at the end of the movie, during the final confrontation, they're all going out to face the farmers together, he starts handing everyone out bandit hats. So you got like all the forest animals in balaclavas, wrecking the town to cover Foxy's escape,
including a Catholic rabbit who says a little sign of the cross and prayer in Latin before he goes out.
Is that real, or did we make that up?
No, that
that
is
has-
part of the
I don't
movie.
remember that.
We'll have to. We'll have to
have to
play the
watch it
clip
again. It's
after
so
this.
bad.
But yeah, it's a funny little detail.
We've been debating making a sketch of various animals and what they would represent as various
Like
ideologies,
political
religions, and
ideologies.
worldviews.
Yeah.
And the
Like a little
the
allegory.
rabbits, we decided that Catholic rabbits would be the thing that represents Catholics.
Yep. And they speak in language and operate in a way the other animals don't understand. But at any
Anyway,
at any rate, it's a fun little detail in the movie. So let's see, where are we going from there?
Yeah.
The motif of the bandit hat. And then Foxy, I guess another side character is Kylie the opossum, who Foxy just kind of has around to be available and just be that nice little helper. But
I need you to be available.
I need.
why didn't I get a Latin name? I want to help.
Oh, that another cool scene, yeah, where like he realizes that the animals all need to use their own like inherent gifts and abilities to contribute and like rescue Christopherson. He goes out, lists off all of their Latin names as he's addressing them, and they say what their talent is, and then they just kind of recruits them all. It's a fun little scene, but
Is a scene that kind of works into Foxy's arc, where he realizes he needs to be true to his inner self, but also channel it in a way that is beneficial to his community and to his family.
Right. And
While also realizing that he's not sufficient to do what he
Right.
needs to do by himself. He needs his community of all of the forest animals and their unique gifts and talents to be able to accomplish his mission.
And I think Kylie's character almost sort of represents like the way his relationship with him is like he's just sort of flippantly uses other people to like make himself feel cool or great. Because he doesn't really need Kylie's help as much as he needs somebody to watch because his wife doesn't want him to be doing this stuff. So he's like, all right, here, Kylie, you can be my little pal and like admire me and all that fun stuff. And
Yeah, it's an entirely self-serving thing at first. Like you said, James, he basically just recruits Kylie to be his fanboy and just follow him around and
tells him how to be excited about being part of the crew and all that stuff.
yeah, because Kylie is kind of a timid, sort of reserved guy. So,
Spacey, kind of calm, nice guy.
yeah, he's
He's too
a
nice
little
to
confused, but he got the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little too nice to realize he's being used, right?
Yeah. And Foxy eventually repents of that
Yeah.
ideal by
Same-
recognizing Kylie's unique abilities.
That and also with his relationship with his wife Felicity, he just kind of he tries to like hide things from her and go around her, but realizes he needs to also like, you know, respect and love his wife and family in order to truly be true to himself and stuff. It's one of the best lines in the whole movie is when Felicity's, you know, she's not a chump. She kind of knows something's up. So she confronts them actually right before they get shot at. She's like, if what I think is happening, it better not be. There's so many great one-liners in that movie.
That movie is like nothing but one-liners.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones. Whatever. You guys will have to watch the movie. If you haven't already seen it, it's great.
It gets a 3 thumbs up from us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
6 thumbs up.
6
Because
thumbs
we
up.
each
6.
have 2 thumbs.
Yeah.
I have both my thumbs.
Last I checked, I wasn't missing any thumbs.
1, 2. Don't think I had a third one. So yeah, I got.
We're not counting big toes.
I'm not Chuck
No,
Norris.
those
I
don't-
don't have a third fist in my beard. I don't have a beard, so it would be
You're not a
pretty
Vortigaunt.
pretty plain to tell if I did. But
You're not a Vortigaunt like Half-Life. Just 3 arms. So yeah. So as Catholics then, after all this is a Catholic boy podcast, and not just
girls are allowed to listen to.
Oh,
but it's-
yeah,
it's
right.
a
Yes.
podcast made by Catholic boys.
Yes. As Catholics then, and sticking with our shtick, what do we take out of this movie besides just like a almost like kind of love letter to the movie? We're not
So
just
this is just-
fanboying it up,
yeah.
even though we are. What is the main thing we can take away from this?
I think it's actually kind of a cool, if you look at it a certain way, it's almost a metaphor for like your vocation in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a certain amount of God created you to be a certain way.
Mhm.
He created you with unique talents and abilities that you, when fully expressed, bring you to the joy that he desires for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try to deny that and like push it away and say, no, this is something I really can't do,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to suffer for it.
and not
so
just you.
everyone around you, really.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there is also the cautionary tale of, don't. It's not a perfect metaphor because obviously him doing Fox things because he's Fox has like direct negative consequences,
Mhm.
which is not really the case for vocation. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's finding the balance between your responsibilities and the way you were made to be.
Mm-hmm. So, in all things, the virtue being the balance between 2 extremes.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's
It's a very also a family-oriented
yes.
film,
Yes.
so it kind of explores the.
It's very family friendly. Like every time they literally, they do cuss, But the cussing
Yes.
in the movie, they
It's
literally
literally
just
just
say
the word
cuss.
They substitute any bad word for cuss.
What
What
was
the
that? You
cuss?
scared cuss out of us.
Are you cussing with me?
You cuss.
Don't cuss and point at me.
What the cuss is he burning?
And I love how like casually it became a word in the vocabulary of the movie.
Like one of my favorite little details, the stop motion sets are so like there's so many little hidden things here and there. And in the background there's graffiti spray painted on a building that just says cuss in big letters. It's one of my favorite things when I discovered that. It's great. And yeah, so
To the point of it focuses on Foxy and his family as sort of it's a very a family that is very rooted in modernity at the outset. You know, he's kind of a working dad. He's the breadwinner, and his teenage son is a rebellious teenage son, and his wife is kind of there, but it's almost dystopian in that she's like, you know, she's kind of just there, and they have this tenuous relationship that isn't, it's not
She's
falling
there
apart,
painting-
but there's
painting
clearly
thunderstorms.
something. Yeah, there's clearly some tension there. So
like symbolized, I think, by her painting thunderstorms constantly.
On her beautiful landscapes.
Yeah, she's a landscape artist. Another cool thing though is like at the end of the movie, it sort of ends as it began, where you have them doing a heist together as a family instead of just Foxy on his own.
Complete with her the announcement of her being pregnant again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's the movie sort of ends with a resounding like, yes, you can reconcile who you are on the inside with your responsibilities in your family. It's sort of a big old both and. So it's a lot to unpack. I mean, so sorry if this didn't make a whole lot of sense to you. It's sort of a cult classic movie, but I would highly recommend
we know
watching
this movie super well, and trying to explain it to other people is like, oh yeah, cool, this is my favorite thing. Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
this other cool thing about it.
Yeah, it'll make so
Right.
much more sense if you watch the movie at least once or twice.
Or 5 too many times.
5 too many. I mean, most of the reasons why I've seen it so many times is like I'm showing it to a lot of people.
It's like, wait, friend, you have not seen movie?
You
Come
know me.
see movie.
You know me, and you have not seen Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Like 3/4 of the references I make will make more sense to you after watching this movie.
Yeah, it's my trademark. But yeah, no. Another film by Wes Anderson we also enjoy is Isle of Dogs. It's one I haven't seen nearly as much because it came
It's
out
much
much more
newer.
recently.
It is.
But eventually we'll have to do a deep dive into that too, because it's another Wes Anderson film with like the same animation style, and it's also got a lot of stuff to dig into under the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hopefully, I guess that's about all I have on the.
What do you suppose the wolf represents?
Oh, the wolf.
There's a whole
Yeah, we
theme
gotta talk
where
about the wolf.
Foxy is
the
like,
phobias, like
has a
him and
phobia of
Kylie have their
wolves.
phobias. Like Kylie's afraid of thunder, which is funny because like throughout the whole movie, there's sort of like this overcast clouds and stuff, and like occasionally rumbling thunder, which is like, you know, a symbol of like comeuppance and so forth in the movie. And then Foxy's whole thing is he's afraid of he has a phobia of wolves, and every
he
time
brings
somebody
up randomly throughout the film.
yeah. You know, one time this wolf I saw, wolf, what's with all the wolf talk? Can we give it a rest for once? Like he's like every time a wolf is mentioned, he just kind of like freezes and like what, where, who, what. There's one analysis video I was watching about that, where I think it's his sort of, I think the way the guy explained it, I think it's like everything great about that channel, which is sort of an answer to everything wrong with like CinemaSins. Like I think Cinema Wins is the name of the channel, something like
That's
that. Where he does this similar sort of thing where he dives into like all the neat little details and so forth in movies. The way this guy interpreted it was, since the wolf, like the whole movie's got like this kind of yellow, orange, brown 70s and also like autumn.
Yes, it's a
aesthetic.
very autumn color palette.
Mm-hmm.
And when the wolf appears seemingly out of nowhere, it's like winter, like coming out of the mountains. It's snowy and it's like this stark contrast. And I think it's meant to represent, because like the whole conflict in the movie is from Foxy's midlife crisis, and I think it's sort of his fear of old age and like dying without doing the thing he loves doing, which is kind of an interesting take on it that I generally agree with.
Did he mention how his dad died? He said he died at 7.5 non-Fox years old.
Yeah, and he's 7 himself. He didn't say how he died. He just said he died. So
perhaps like the book
maybe
or
he
a
was a
deleted
wolf.
scene talks about a wolf in that regard.
we'll have to dig into it.
That'd be interesting.
But yeah, I think I kind of agree with that take. Although, like, if you didn't know that, like, most of the things in this movie that we're pulling all this deep meaning out of, just watching it for the first time, they seem completely random and nonsensical, strung together. But I mean, for all that, the movie is actually pretty cohesively written.
It just takes a second watching to really wrap your head around the kind of jarring weirdness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that's just getting used to the awkward movement of the puppets.
Yeah, which apparently that's just like a lot of the techniques and camera angles and things like that, weird mannerisms and stuff are just part of Wes Anderson's style over all his movies. I've seen bits and pieces of others. I've never watched like a complete one. I've heard this one is the animated films, since they're children's movies, they sort of keep Wes Anderson from like his excesses, and so that aren't quite as family friendly, and that actually makes the limitations make for a better movie.
I would argue Isle of Dogs isn't exactly a children's movie.
No, it's a little more
more
raw.
More raw and a little darker. It's not bad or worse in any
Like
way.
if you have
It's
older
just-
kids, like I'm not a parent. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I feel like older kids would probably be okay watching it. That one, but this one is Fantastic Mr. Fox is pretty family friendly as long as you're okay with hearing your kids like running around yelling cuss around the house. That's probably going to happen because I know when I watched it growing up, that's definitely what happened. So be prepared for that. But overall, yeah, big old thumbs up from us.
Yeah, sorry, I derailed your transition to the ending by bringing up. Oh wait, there was something else.
Well,
that
it was
had
worthwhile.
symbolism.
So I guess any closing thoughts, just in general? Anything we'd like to meditate upon before we bid farewell to our dear audience that we hope we have by the time this episode airs?
If what I think is happening,
Is happening. It had better not be.
There we go. Unless that is having an audience who cares enough to interact, comment, like, subscribe, and all the things,
Rate.
all the positive internet things, tweet, bookface, all the things. Do them, yes. Do them. Wait, I was going to do Gollum, but Yoda came out. Do them, yes.
Filthy hobbitses.
Likes and subscribes, yes.
Dear Arjun,
Tweet them. Tweet them.
we better stop before this goes completely off the rails.
Completely bonkers. All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for
If
listening.
you did, that is. Anyway.
Yeah.
If you didn't, why? How am I? I'm not talking
How
to
are
you.
you hearing to us?
How are you hearing
How
to
are
us?
you hearing to us?
How are you hearing us if you're not listening? That is a remarkable gift, my friend, if you can just sort of sense
You
the
can
vibrations.
hear without listening.
True. If you just pick up feel
Listening- you
vibrations.
You can't listen without hearing.
True.
There you go.
All right. Well,
On that note,
on that note, we
Farewell.
will talk to you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye.